Welcome to LBM Flash Moments with Phil Fernaro.
All right, hello everyone. This is Phil Fernaro. This is Flash Moments, shorter episode solo cast for our Lightbulb Moments podcast. For those who haven't heard before, we have a special ability for you in the Bright community to connect with us and leave very interesting messages for us on the Spark line. Go to our website. You can record a message and let us know what you're thinking. You can talk about a guest that you would like to be on. If you'd like to be a guest, you can do that as well. Or you can just have some concepts that you want us to talk about. And thank you, Bill Carney. He's the leader in providing Sparkline messages for me to think and talk about. So today will be a little bit about those Sparkline episodes. And before I get into that, I always like to have little funny stories that happen. So this camera that I'm working at, if it wasn't for Dave Shannon, I wouldn't be looking at the screen when I'm talking to you. So when we were on a Zoom one time, Dave Shannon, really good person. He's been involved in a couple deals with me, but he said, you have to get this camera. It's the best camera ever. So I said, okay. So then I bought the camera and he was dead on. But there's another Dave Shannon story. So, I guess this was reciprocation for what I did for him. So we both own Teslas, and he asked me if I had the self-driving mechanism. And for a long period of time, he didn't have it. And I said, yeah, the autonomous driving is glorious. It's the best thing. You're going to love it. He was very skeptical. So I said, all right, it's no problem. So apparently I went to the subscription model with Tesla. So now he got it for a month. And he left a message on my voicemail, and he said, no need to call me back. I just want to tell you, thank you very much for introducing me to autonomous driving and then he told the story. I don't know if you want me to tell it, but that he drove this car autonomously and now he is in love with it and he uses it all the time. And it's kind of a nice thing. So he did something nice for me. I did something nice for him. And now, we're both happy. And that was very inspirational. I like when people tell me stuff that we talk about. And it's kind of a nice gesture too. Thank you, Dave, for that. But it's a nice gesture for all of you out there in the Bright community to start thinking about that. If someone does something nice for you, respond. And I was a little delayed responding because I didn't want to respond. I wanted them to hear this podcast. Although that's ironic, it's going to be a long time. I might have to text him as well. The idea is that he did something nice. He should be recognized for telling me, because it makes me feel good that I did something positive for him. And thank you, Dave. So now let's sort of shift a little bit to what Bill Carney. Bill Carney had a couple spark lines, and I think the first one was pretty interesting. He said that I was at an episode talking and I said digression and tangent. And I said I was having both. So, of course, Bill Carney says, listen, Phil, you don't know what you're talking about. Here's the difference between digression and tangent. He says a digression is a short detour which turns to the subject quickly. Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. We'll have to fix this on the side. He said a digression is a short detour from the subject, and then you come back to it. A tangent is a more permanent sidetrack to a different topic entirely. He says that I did both during the episode. So I didn't know. I just said digression. I said tangent. I didn't know what I was doing, but now I understand that I do a lot of both, like the digressions I just had away from what we were talking about today. Although that was a tangent talking about Dave Shannon. So now we're back to the concept. So now I'll be more conscious of what's going on. Thanks for that, Bill Carney. And Bill says he actually prefers the tangent because it's a side road to a new discussion, and he thinks that that's what's important about light bulb moments. And I started reflecting on this. So these little things, right? If this is the Bright community is just not about me talking to you or our guests talking to you. It's about you interacting to make me have light bulb moments, and hopefully you have light bulb moments as well. So as I started thinking deep, and I go, here's the light bulb moment of this episode already is that the reason this podcast works is because the tangents that are formed are a result of how we operate in this podcast, because those lead us down these paths that we weren't going to even think about talking about on the episode. There are things that come up there, the light bulb moments, that are the shifts that take us to that next level of understanding something that we weren't even thinking about, talking about, or learning about. Those are the learning tangents. Those are the things that are the most important thing about the podcast. And this is very inspirational. Actually, I'm talking about it now. I wasn't going to be talking about it with this much energy, but if Bill Carney, thank you, because this is exactly right. I've figured out during my life the digressions are cool things that pop in my head, and this is a skill that you should teach yourself too. Is that if you do have a digression, get back onto the main point eventually. The digression is the short one, a little story about Dave Shannon, a little story about something that happened during the week. These are all things that aren't part of the main thing, but come back part of the main idea, but gives some relaxation. You can think about something, have a laugh, or a shift, and then you come back to the main story. So, but these tangents are those are just funny things. The tangents are what really drive our ability to sort of structure how we operate in life. So as you go through and when you're thinking about this, I want you to sort of say, hey, I'm going to be conscious of this when I have my next discussion. So you can go along, and this is one of my skills, is that I can go along a line of questioning, shift off to another one, and bring it back to the main line of questioning. That was just a result of being a trial attorney, not because I'm anything special. Most trial attorneys are able to do that. They focus on one thing, take you down another path, and then bring you back to the other one. And hopefully the other path is the one that causes the main path and victory for your client. However, this is where we are learning about people, because guess what? The tangents aren't typically something people are expecting. So the tangents are a direct connection to these people to start thinking about other things that they weren't even thinking about when they started prepping or thinking about being on the podcast. And I think that's wonderful because of the fact that now they have to use their mind. They're not what they've planned. They've got to go back into their history. They got to be on, nimble on their feet to sort of understand what everybody's doing. So I think that's really, really powerful stuff. And now that I think about that, I'm going to be pointing it out in some of our episodes that the tangent was more important sometimes than the main topic. Not always. And, sometimes you go down tangents that are ridiculous and make no sense. But, that's part of it too, is that it's worth a try to go on a tangent, not intentionally, just it comes up in your brain. Think about that too, Bright Community. If a tangent comes out, it was meant to be, that this is something that was caused by the conversation or the interaction that you were having with the person, the people, the group, whatever it may be. And maybe that it was meant to be, that was coming out at that point in time, that was part of a discussion that was really inspirational to you. So by doing this podcast, there's going to be a lot of tangents, a lot of digressions, diversions, whatever you want to call them. Those are the things to think about. And Bill Carney, thank you so much. I love that. So not to be outdone with that one, Bill Carney brought up another spark line, and it says, just catching up, just listening to July 1st Mark Roberger episode. He says to me, you say you're a contrarian. I don't believe that's true. You're a well-informed, open-minded early adopter. Well, thank you, Bill, but I don't know how true that is, but maybe it is. I am an early adopter on things. I like it. But I also think I'm a contrarian. So now I started thinking, he says, I could see why you think that is a contrarian. I'm reading now because this is what he wrote. It is not. So I'm going to read it again. I can see why you think that is contrarian. It is not. You get ahead of trends with those attributes. You might get burned sometimes, but it's the inherent risk in the thought process and actions. All right. So the idea of whether I'm a contrarian or whether I'm an early adopter that does some research and tries to get in earlier, that's something to be discussed. I think the concept of being contrarian, and this is the perspective, is being a contrarian something that's negative? Is that the negative connotation? Or is it just being a contrarian is thinking differently? Whatever it is, it's important to see the distinction. Being a contrarian doesn't mean you always have to be negative. It means that you're thinking differently than the other people. So it's the perspective. Bill's a very positive person. He doesn't always look to the negative type of things. He looks for the positive types of things. So I think that as we develop the podcast, a lot of the people that have been highly successful in their industries, and we're not talking about monetary success, we're talking about growth, creating new things, understanding how they are, becoming more self aware, helping community members, charitable organizations, whatever it may be, and personal reflection, whatever they may be, the concept is still that in order to get to the next step, you can follow the crowd, but you're more successful. You have a better chance of success if you don't follow the crowd, if you go where other people are not. And there's a huge theme in this podcast, over the last several years, where that's an important attribute is the people that get into things that aren't where everyone else is at. That's where you're gaining high levels of success and satisfaction and growth and learning. To be a contrarian means to learn. To be someone that's innovative, you have to learn. And if you see and read and do what everybody else says, you can't learn and grow. So unbelievable, Bill Carney. It's a short episode, but it was very impactful to me. And this is probably like a top light bulb moment for me today, as related to the first part, but also the second part was very impactful to me. So please feel free to go into the spark line. And if you can get this type of energy out of me, like Bill Carney just did, do it. Send me something, let's talk about it. Let's inspire. It's not always going to hit a light bulb moment, but usually it is. So tomorrow we're going to talk to Dean DeLisle, and what a wonderful surprise. I got to meet Dean again after not seeing him since before COVID. And he was part of my crypto history when we were very involved in crypto in the early days, representing clients and doing all those things associated with it. We spoke together at various events, cybersecurity, et cetera. But I was randomly at a consortium event in West Palm Beach, and Dean lives in Chicago. I didn't see him in Chicago, saw him in West Palm Beach. We hit it off again. We reconnected like we never separated. So we get to talk about so many different things. Such an interesting guy. You're going to love this one. I know you will. He talks about how marketing changes. He talks about how to use AI to approach things. He's been involved in so many different businesses. He talks about transforming himself into various business models. We had learned about through one of our guests. We learned about CEOs and COOs, chief operating officers, chief executive officers. Tomorrow we'll learn about chief revenue officers. Get to talk about capital raising, little oil and gas. Can't go wrong there. And a little sports. So it's a very, very ambitious discussion, where we get to talk about a lot of topics at once, which is not unusual. There are some tangents and there are some diversions and digressions. So we'll see everyone tomorrow for another positive day of illuminating thoughts and light bulb moments. Stay bright, everyone.